You're listening to the Maryland Fishing Line, a production of the Chesapeake Angler Magazine. And now your host, Brian Rains.
Welcome, y'all, to episode 7 of the Maryland Fishing Line. Today is July 7th, 2020.
Ooh.
This is the podcast where we talk about fishing throughout the great state of Maryland. The Maryland Fishing Line is a production of the Angler Magazine, Chesapeake Edition, and the Chesapeake Angler can be found throughout southern Maryland and Arundel County and the Eastern Shore. If you would like to see it in your area and it's not there, let us know. Once again, I'm joined by Mr. Joey Sikorsky. Thank you, Joey.
Thank you, sir.
Good to have you here.
You know, this is episode 007 on the 7th.
Oh, it is. It's
Yeah.
It's 7/7, episode 7.
Yep.
It's July 7th, 7/7, episode 7. I don't know what
Bond.
that means.
Yeah.
It's better than June 6th having episode 6.
666?
That'll be 666. Now it's 7/7/7.
Well, I was going to play James Bond music, but I don't know how we talked about the style of this podcast, how we're going to do it last week.
It is what it
just
is.
go what it is. Yeah.
It
I could be goofy.
If people want to hear what's going on in the world of fishing in Maryland, this is going to be a place where you can find it. You're also going to get some little bit extra juice and love and whatever you want to call it. Before we get too deep into anything else, let's take a look at what's going around the state. So if people are here for an actual fishing report, they'll get that, and then they can go away and not listen to us ramble on. Chesapeake Bay surface temps are climbing and are now sitting in the low 80s. River temps are also heating up. This means rockfish are going to be moving to deeper water, to more oxygenated water. White perch are holding in about 20 feet of water or less on mud, clay, or sand bottoms. And as this time of year, white perch can be found pretty much everywhere, tidal creeks and rivers and throughout the bay. With the higher water temps also comes algae blooms, or the potential for algae blooms, and reduced water clarity.
Or you have the Baltimore Harbor.
Yeah, I saw that today. Was that, did they determine that was a bloom, or was that...
no, it was just something leaked. Some
chemical runoff. Yeah.
So good luck to you, Baltimore people.
Yeah, I know. In the upper Chesapeake Bay, the Conowingo Dam early in the morning is prime topwater action for bass. The action continues down the river and out along the edges of the Susquehanna Flats. As the morning hours progress, it's a good idea to switch to soft plastics. And all types of catfish are providing plenty of action for anybody fishing anything that resembles bait. Cut bait, chicken livers, chicken, whatever you want to throw out there. If it stinks, I think
other catfish.
Yeah, other catfish. Striped bass fishing has been good in the upper bay, whether you're trolling, live lining, jigging, or casting lures. The Tolchester Lumps has seen a lot of boats live lining and chumming for striped bass, but this has led to a lot of discarded dead floaters. Make sure to use your circle hicks.
Did you tell everyone you have no teeth this
No,
episode?
I didn't.
Oh,
I didn't get
that was the
into
other
that.
podcast.
Yeah, I had a little dental surgery to remove some a bad bridge work, and I am toothless. So if something sounds a little funny today, I'm a little off. Yeah,
I'll do Middle Bay.
Okay. You're reminded, folks, to use your circle hooks and handle fish quickly to get them back in the water. But the spot bite is now reached the Bay Bridge. The spot bite has reached the Bay Bridge. Bloodworms on the bottom are going to provide tons and tons of action. Jigging is good also at Love Point Rocks and the Bay Bridge piers and rock piles with skirted soft plastic jigs in white pearl or chartreuse. Add a little sparkle, going to do the thing. And you want to work those jigs either close to the bridge piers or on the rocks. Hey, a little pro tip for folks if you're rock fishing, if you're fishing those rocks, take a little dip net, see if you can't scrape some grass shrimp off of those rocks, and tip some of those jigs with a little bit of grass shrimp that you've caught right there. That's a pro tip.
Pro tip.
Yep.
In the Middle Bay, striped bass fishing included trolling, live lining, jigging, and casting lures near shoreline structure has been producing. Trolling weighted umbrella rigs along the 30-foot edge. The shipping channel is providing a slow pickup of fish longer than 19 inches. Several traditional locations have been popular, including Buoy 83 and Bloody Point, Hackett's, and Thomas Points. White bucktail and swim shads are the favorite color as trailers. Shallow water striped bass fishery that, oh man, I read that bad. The shallow water striped bass fishery that many light tackle anglers love is beginning to slip into summer mode. This means that the best fishing success occurs in the crack of dawn or the late evening. Striped bass do not feel comfortable in waters above 80 degrees.
So that crack of dawn and late evening at this time of the year is very, very early.
I haven't fished the early morning for striped bass yet.
I did some, well, we'll talk about it in a little bit. I did an early morning. We've done a little bit of early morning bass fishing. In the lower bay, striped bass fishing in the Potomac River from the Route 301 bridge south to the St. Mary's River has been good and should continue. You're looking to troll along the steeper channel edge with tandem-rigged bucktails dressed with twister tails, umbrella rigs with bucktails with swim shads. There's also some spotty rockfish trolling going along the shipping channel edges in the Patuxent River. Didn't realize they were actually shipping channel edges. I'm sure they're channel edges, but shipping channel edges. There's been a little bit of live lining activity along the steep channel edge between St. George and Piney Point in the lower Potomac. A few anglers are trying to chum off Point Lookout for a mix of rockfish and bluefish, with the added hope now of luring a cobia into the chum slick. My brother went out a few days ago, got into some cobia, had a great time.
I want to try cobia.
You ever eaten them?
No, that's what I mean. Yeah. I want to eat cobia.
Oh, it's good. It's good. He made them into steaks and grilled them. Spot are spread out along both sides of the bay. Some of the spot are now getting large enough to be considered table fare. I enjoy spot. I like eating spot. They're just a good little fry fish. Mm-hmm. White perch are mixed in with these same fish at the same locations and every tidal river and creek in the region. The speck bite continues to be extremely good, with most of the action occurring Hooper's Island south to Tangier and Pocomoke. Cast in white, pink, or pearl sparkle combinations with soft plastic swim baits has been the best producing lures to use, as are gulp baits. In the early morning and late evening hours, throw those Zara spooks over grass or stump fields. That's a great way to tie into those specks, and you should encounter a striped bass at the same time. Cobia are finally making the jump across the line from Virginia into Maryland. You're looking for chumming or even sight casting with live eels or big, large, soft plastic jigs. Middle grounds to the target ship and Point Lookout are traditional locations to look for them. Joey, this is for you. Large red drum are being caught and released in the Tangier Sound area by jigging or trolling large spoons. Bluefish are becoming more common in the region, and their numbers will most likely increase this month. Flounder are also making an appearance in the Tangier Sound along channel edges, and recreational crabbing is fairly good in the Middle Bay region, with most folks being able to catch close to a full bushel per outing of nice, heavy crabs. Mm-hmm. Excited about that. You know, I didn't. It's not here, but I've heard that they're starting to see some little croaker.
Oh yeah,
show up with those spots. So, folks, if you catch a little croaker, make sure to get it back in the water really quick. That's our future. Those are future 5-pound croaker. That, I mean, we all would love to see those days come back. Do you want to do freshwater? Yeah.
Freshwater. Largemouth bass are steadily moving into a summer mode of behavior as water temperatures elevate. Largemouth bass in most areas now are feeding at night in the shallow waters where grass, lily pads, and spattock fields, did I spell that right? Spatterdock fields provide cover for bait fish. Fish these areas during the late evening or early morning hours with soft frogs, buzzbaits, floating soft plastics, and lipless crankbaits. As that sun rises in the morning sky, largemouth bass will seek cooler shade under deeper water under grass mats, fallen treetops, sunken wood, or docks. Flipping grubs, weighted soft plastics, hair jigs, and crankbaits near these areas will be a good choice for you.
Never been a big crankbait fisherman.
When I was younger,
yeah.
I don't know. Northern snakehead will be found, seems about everywhere, holding in these shallow grassy areas in the tidal rivers, and although their activity has slowed down a bit, they will go after noisy topwater lures. They may also be found holding near sunken wood along deeper shorelines. And here we go. Blue catfish are being caught on shoal area next to channels in the Potomac River from the Wilson Bridge to Route 301 Bridge. They're also found in the Potomac River near the Benedict, which I've caught a lot near the Benedict.
Patuxent.
Patuxent. What did I say?
To Potomac. That's okay.
Yeah, I had it on my mind with the 3-on-1.
Everybody knew.
Yeah.
It's Patuxent.
A lot of anglers, young and old, are enjoying the bluegill sunfish using a variety of locations and methods, taking young anglers down to local community ponds and casting out a worm under a bobber will provide a lot of fun.
That is a great way to introduce kids to fishing.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing with perch out here with my wife.
There you go.
Take her out probably tomorrow. It's still fun catching bluegills and stuff as a 30-year-old man.
You know what? A big bluegill too. That's
yeah,
a lot of fun. Looking at what's going on at the Atlantic Ocean and the coastal bays, surf anglers got a surprise this week as Spanish Mac began making runs in the surf. You want to cast small, heavy spoons, and you got to burn them. Speed reel those things as fast as you can.
If you think you're going fast, go faster.
Kingfish are being caught on bottom rigs with pieces of bloodworm, and bluefish are being caught on finger mullet and cut bait. At the inlet, bluefish are moving in and out with the tides and being caught in a variety of lures by drift and cut bait. A few striped bass are being caught at the inlet, but most are missing that 28-inch minimum mark for your ocean fish. Fishing for flounder is good in the back bay. Gulp baits in white or pink tend to catch the largest flounder, and of course traditional baits of squid and minnows work fine. The boats venturing outside are finding a mix of yellowfin tuna and big eye. Many captains are reporting that every day is not necessarily a guarantee, not necessarily a guarantee of limit catches, but some nice yellowfin tuna and a mix of big eye are coming to the docks each day.
Yeah.
So there's your fishing report, and now let's catch up with what we've been up to. Joey, what have you been done this last week?
Technically, well, we covered the last fishing. I only fished a couple times, but we did that. Changed my plan. Basically, I got out so we could do an early morning. You've been doing a couple early mornings. I'll let you get to yours, but we did early morning Mallows Bay together, which wasn't a numbers day, but I did enjoy just going. I say I'll probably talk in detail about that really quick. So timing was good. You ended up right behind us, right? That was weird.
Let's hear your side of that fishing adventure, that story, and then you'll hear my side.
Oh, at Mallows Bay?
Because we had totally different experiences.
Oh, yeah. I kind of want to talk because I do want some help. And I don't know how many listeners we have, so maybe I can. So obviously, I talked about I'm a big fly fisherman. I'm not a snooty one. All right. And but the last few trips, I've been more hardcore. Like I want to catch bigger fish on my fly rod, especially bass. And I don't mind the snakehead here and there. But so I went into that. I tied up some nice bass flies, which double up as snakehead flies. And I don't know. We showed up there, and like it was the morning. And you're the same way. You're like, oh, the more time we waste on shore, it's less. It seemed super fishy when we got there.
Yeah.
I mean, you heard stuff moving around before we got in the water. I don't know. I was like, man, this is gonna be a good morning. I told my dad, we're gonna catch a lot of big fish.
I felt too.
And it just felt right. It was a beautiful morning. I've been working hard at the shop. I was like, it's just nice. It was an early morning. But nothing really produced at first. I put the fly rod down at first. I was just starting to. A lot of times when I use spinning gear, I'm looking for fish. And if obviously I catch one, but if I know an area is holding some fish, that's a good indicator so I don't wear myself out. And when I hit that first section with everything I had like two fly rods, a spinning rod, and it had different things on each to nothing. I was really bummed.
So what were you throwing?
So I started out with like a Zoom horny toad.
Okay.
In the grass and stuff for that line right behind the boat. Nothing. I was throwing like a Dahlberg diver, which is a pretty noisy fly. Like it's a deer spun. It makes that sexy gloop.
Okay.
It really pulls fish out of places. There's places. There's a couple pieces like plant where you can definitely tell something is. It's not the wind. Something is down there rooting, which is probably carp or catfish, or it's a bass plant around down there. And I've been getting my fly rod accuracy while sitting down is hard. Like I can hit a pie plate perfectly standing up, but my casting's been getting a lot better from the kayak. I'm hitting stuff right where I need it, nothing. And I went to like a it's called an EP minnow, something that just swims right under the surface, nothing. And then we move around, and I finally get back into the creek, and I put on like a little tiny Zara spook, and I pulled the first snakehead out by that little dock up behind that little island. also swatted me a couple times. I thought I missed a good largemouth. Ended up being the first snakehead I've actually caught instead of jumped on my boat this year. So I instantly switched back to the fly. Nothing. And it wasn't until I got into that side creek where, man, it was the first time I think I've had too much water to fish.
Yeah. There was a lot
like
of
those
water.
fish are probably so far back, and that's why we didn't probably do as well as we thought. Because we had a tide coming in with a full moon. It was like super flood tide.
And it was super flood. And and all those fish, you can hear the snakehead back in the
you
grass.
can hear them so far. And you would, even if you could get something back, you were never getting them out.
No.
And you could, that was funny because right before we left, that back of that creek where when you were coming out, I mean, you heard this thing, it sounded like Godzilla back there, and it chased a couple birds out.
Yeah, I saw that too. I saw him chasing some ducks, some little ducks.
And, but, I've ended up picking up another snakehead around the low 20s on my fly rod. In that one little creek I went back into and lost another decent one at the boat. And man, it was like a 2 or 3 pound bass that it felt small until it kind of turned its shoulders at the boat, and I was like, oh shit, and I lost him. But no, I kind of struggled a little bit because the water was too high, and it was really clear.
Well, it wasn't just you. Everybody that was out there, and we fished on a Sunday. The Sunday after the 4th of July.
Yeah,
I'm wondering
what got hit hard.
Yeah, I'm wondering what that place looked like on July 4th.
Yeah, and I think we were talking like Thursday's probably the best days to fish anywhere around here.
Oh yeah.
As far as fly patterns, it's a little bit harder, I think, on the fly rod because the way that grass was sitting under the water, it gets a little bit harder as a fly rod goes. I can't finesse a worm or anything into pockets and stuff like I could with the light tack. And I even set up switched over to that, but it got a little windy. It was hard to cast a fly rod. And I thought my morning was pretty good. I had fun. My dad ended up catching, I don't think he caught anything, but it made up for me not catching fish on Monday at the ponds.
True. Yeah.
And then him catching multiple. So, I don't know. I need to spend, it's my first freshwater week in a long time.
I thought, like you said, when we showed up there,
it just seemed right.
I thought we were going to just destroy that place because I had done a dawn fish, and I want to talk there. So I did a little topwater pond fishing at dark 30. I mean, I was on the water at like 5:15, right at first light, and that whopper plopper, that bloop, 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 bloop. In that, it was almost like you would throw that topwater, and if it came back and you didn't get a strike or a fish, you're like, what'd I do wrong? Because it was like every cast was a fish, was a fish, was a fish, was a fish. And they just exploded. They tore that whopper plopper to pieces. Now, pond levels have been really down. Ponds have been about a foot low.
Maybe not after last night.
I was really curious as to what this morning was going to look like. Although that would just churn that water up.
Chocolate milk.
Yeah, it'd be brown and muddy, but I'm wondering what tomorrow morning might look like with that continued runoff. Because we had a ton of flooding in southern Maryland everywhere you looked.
Real quick, I did tell you I binged a couple fishing podcasts, and a lot of guys lately in the I guess East Coast wise says their best days have been right before it storms.
Yeah,
I've never fished right before a storm this year.
I had that really good day last week where it was just. In fact, I'm working on the video on that trip now where it was just after that thunderstorm came through and cooled the water off. That approaching cold front usually is what that is. Yeah. And that can turn the fish on. It can really, really get them to thinking about like, it might be a few days before I eat again. Let me get going. Like me with my teeth. I binged out some Bob Evans and some Chipotle before they ripped all my teeth out. So coming off of that topwater pond fishing, and then we went over to Mallows Bay, and I was like, at Whopper Plopper out in the basin.
You got me excited.
4 feet of water, 2.5 feet of grass. Those bass are going to be all sitting down in that. The Whopper Plopper at dawn is going to bring those fish up out of that grass. I was like, and I threw that thing, and I threw that thing, and I threw that thing, and nothing. Finally went to the worm, threw that thing, nothing. I had one take on a black Senko just before you guys took off, which would have been right around, 10 o'clock or so you guys bailed?
Something right around
like 10. Then after you guys left, I went over and I fished the little trib on the south side of the bay. Nothing, but there were tons of shad out there just breaking water everywhere. So I'm like, there are fish here. They're feeding fish here. There've got to be. But still nothing. I went out. I actually went to see if I could mark any fish outside of the Ghost Fleet, out in about 10 or 12 feet of water, to see if there were any fish sitting around out there. There were some guys out there, looked like they were probably catfishing. I watched them for a little bit. I dropped some swim jigs down there to see if I could get anything to move, but it was really windy, a little choppy, hard to kind of stay positioned.
That's what turned me away from going out there early.
Yeah.
We had that westerly wind.
Yeah, it made it tough.
Yeah.
I didn't stay out there for very long. I turned around, came back, fished the pilings coming in, and I was like, okay, I haven't caught a fish. I need to catch a fish. I got, that skunk is just, it bothers me. So I put the black and blue Senko back on again, rigged it up wacky, and I went back to the little bend in the North Trib, where everybody catches fish, and I'd take that worm, and that water was so clear. I mean, it was
it was ridiculously clear.
It was so clear. I mean, clearest I've ever seen that water.
It's weird saying that living in Maryland,
but it was actually kind of cool because I dropped that worm, and I saw a little 12-incher come up and take it, and got him in the boat. And I was like, okay, skunk's off the board. I want to fish this bend all the way to the end, and then I'll call it a day because I don't have the skunk. I didn't score a fish for the tournament, but I definitely, didn't get the skunk. I took that worm, and there's a bunch of laydowns up in that bend, and I dropped that worm, and I watched it fall and sit right on top of that log. And I let it sit there for 4 or 5 seconds. I gave it a twitch and watched it till just to the point where it came off of that log and started to fall down next to that log. And all you saw was big silver flash of that largemouth coming up and taking that worm and diving right straight back underneath. I mean, it was like, okay, I'm going to take that and I'm going to go right back down where I came from. And ended up getting that fish in the boat. It was 17 and a half. So it's probably about
fish.
3.5 pounds.
Yeah.
And I immediately, after photo takings and submissions and all that stuff, I immediately stowed my rods and went back to the ramp. I am out of here.
Yeah.
Because that day is not going to get, any better as it progresses. There was just so much water in there. So I did one other trip this last week.
Yeah.
My friend Mark said, hey, let's go up and try Patapsco. I've never fished the Patapsco River. So I had no idea where to look or what to do. We dropped in at the Southwest Area Park and went north up the Patapsco, right to a place called Bell Grove. There's like 3 or 4 big pond kind of places that are connected to the river but set back. And looking and doing the homework, those looked like the places that the fish were going to hang out. And sure enough, that's where they were. We didn't really catch much, but it was the heat of the day. I was trying to gauge tides, and the tide window that was the best for fishing was sort of right in the middle of the heat of the afternoon. So you look at it and you go, you got to get so many things right when you're fishing tidal water. Is you got to have the tides right, you got to have the time of the day right. It's not like a pond where you can go in the morning, you can go in the evening.
Which is why I thought Malice Bay would produce.
Yeah, exactly.
Incoming tide early morning.
Yep. It had all those things had lined up together. But I was able to score a little 18.5-inch largemouth on a Ned rig, and it was such a delicate bite. It was, I slayed that Ned rig. And that area of the Patapsco, there's no weeds. So it was really hard to decipher when you're coming from a place where you only fish weeds to go to a place where you're only fishing rock bottoms. So I switched up to that little peanut butter and jelly finesse Ned rig, maybe a 6-ounce head, so really light.
Yep.
I let it sit on the bottom and just look like a little bait fish kind of pecking at the bottom, and tapped it along. Went to lift it one time and it didn't come. And I had a lot of snags that day, so you don't get too excited about it. And you go, all right, do I set the hook and lose my Ned rig on another rock, or do I actually, just kind of tug at it? So I kind of probably soft pedaled it a little bit, and until I picked the fish up, I really didn't know how big it was. It was a really nice quality 4.5 pound fish. It was fat and chunky, had big shoulders. And then Mark had a snakehead almost like within the next 20 minutes of me catching that largemouth. And that was it for the day. A snakehead was a little bit more than 20, somewhere between 20, 22, 24 inches, something like that. We didn't get a measure on it. Well, that was it for that. But I definitely think that that's got some potential to go back to, and it's only about an hour and a half for us. And I look at it like Mallow's Bay, it's almost an hour and a half to there.
Yeah, I feel like everything's within that hour and a half.
But I'm going to be honest, Joey. Those mill ponds on the Eastern Shore are calling my name like nobody's business. And because I look at it and I go, okay, I spent an hour and a half to drive to Patapsco. I spent an hour and a half to drive back. That's 3 hours in on the drive. I fished for 4 hours and I caught one fish. And you have so many variables. You have the tides to consider. You have the time of day to consider. You have water clarity to consider. You got all those things that are happening in something like that river. The only thing you got to worry about at a mill pond is what time of the day it is.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there going, okay, so maybe if I drive an hour and 45 minutes, but I know that when I get there at 6 o'clock in the morning, I should be on fish.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about, like, is the tide right at the same time? What's the wind? It
just works.
They're calling my name. And I look at the KBF board for this last month, for the month before that, for what's going on this month. It's all those Eastern Shore boys, and I know they're pulling those big bass. They're pulling 20, 21 inches fish out
wait till everyone has to fish the same lake in Alabama, though.
Yeah.
You know, did I tell you I almost thought about seeing if you wanted to go over there this week?
Oh,
there's a guy selling a solo. I really want a solo canoe for like $400 on Facebook. And I messaged him like minutes after he posted. I was like fourth in line.
Oh.
But if he was like, sure, I would have been like, hey, Brian, let's go get it and fish.
All you got to do is say, let's go. And before you get go out, I would be like, yeah, okay. Especially now that you got that big old rack on your truck.
I got the, man, that's going to change. Well, it's not going to change, but I've been looking for one forever. And I work at a bike and kayak shop. So I can get them from Thule and Yakima, and I can usually get them at cost. I get a good deal. They're accessible, but with all COVID since March, they've been sold out. Everyone, just like kayaks, so it's because it's a kayak accessory. Well, and Lowe's had that, which is pretty much the same exact version as a Sport Track made by Thule, but it's Werner ladders.
Okay, yeah.
And it's the same. It's probably made the same factory.
Yeah,
and I think it was like $300. Took a freaking hour and a half and about 4 beers to put together yesterday. Or Sunday. Oh my god, I did it in the middle of the heat. I was like, if I don't do it now, it's just. But that's great. I have the whole bed of the truck.
Yeah,
I'll never put my native up there.
So
but the Bonafide, it's 60-something, 70 pounds. I can lift it up there.
You can carry probably 3 or 4 boats.
Oh yeah,
in that truck.
It's it'd be good for a group of us going.
Yeah.
The only thing I hate about driving a truck and fishing is most of my spinning stuff is like my Shimano, my St. Croix stuff are one-piece rods.
Yeah,
I freaking hate having a truck with that. Without a cap. So Yakima has a box so it's a fishing rod. So it looks like have you seen the ski racks?
Yeah.
It's basically a version refined for fishing poles. So I might actually mount that on the underside on the track system, so it sits below.
Oh.
And that way, when we have, if I take 3 or 4 people somewhere,
you can store.
I can store all of our.
Yeah, because I keep mine in my truck in the cab now. But
mine has to go from the back seat and runs up the middle.
Yeah.
But if I get that, and because that runs the same track system top and bottom, I can reverse it, and it doesn't matter.
That's
and
actually
then all
really
my
smart.
rods will sit under, and my boats will sit on top.
That's
and
really
then
smart.
2 boats in it's an F-150, so I can put 2 in the.
Yeah.
The one sits a little up. Yeah. The Bonafide, both my kayaks are really wide.
There's about 4 or 5 little mill ponds over on the Eastern Shore that I am itching, like literally just almost like itching to. And I don't want to toss the names of them out there, but I know one of them that you can tell where people are fishing just by where they're located and where they're. So those little mill ponds produce, and
man, I want to
next up on
have like a
list.
5-pounder blow up on my 6-weight fly rod. That's what I was hoping for the other day, like at Mallow's Bay. I was like, this is the place to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I also wanted to fight through the snakehead to catch largemouth.
Yeah, and that's what you have to do too.
Yeah, I hate that.
Now, I heard a rumor the other day, I saw this on Reddit, that snakehead are showing up in St. Mary's Lake proper. I don't believe it.
Because we talked about it, was it you and me? And we talked about maybe on the spillway side.
Yeah, I know they're on the spillway side, on the downside in the little creek, and they hold down there.
So who's throwing them in, or what ospreys are dropping them?
Well, that's just it. I mean, and there's nobody there now with all the work going on, so who knows? But would a snakehead thrive in St. Mary's Lake?
There's a lot of stunted growth largemouth it could eat.
Yeah.
And it might do well for the largemouth population.
It would do the same thing that's done over Blackwater. It takes all the little bass out, and you get this period or this window of time of like 5 and 6 pound largemouth. But then all of a sudden, there's nothing coming up behind them, and they're done. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I don't know whether I believe that or not. I think I'd actually have to see
one way
a
to find out.
I'm not trudging a boat.
I'm not walking. Yeah, I told you Eric did it last week or two.
No
and I'm like, holy cow.
That is way, way, way too far to drag a boat. Hey, folks, if you haven't checked it out yet, the YouTube channel, don't forget to find and comment on the Mallows Bay Snakehead and Bass video.
There's a $10 gift card.
There's a $10 gift card
in there.
Play. For when we get to 350 subscribers on YouTube, we're going to select a random comment from that specific video to win a Bass Pro Shops e-gift card. So only need around like 15 more subscribers to reach that mark. Once we get there, I've been looking at different ways to do giveaways through the YouTube channel. And I'm going to transition to a new system that will allow folks to have multiple ways to enter. And I'm going to do monthly giveaways of like a $20 or $25 e-gift card.
Because you are making the tens of dollars.
I'm not even making the tens of dollars. So this is OP money, out-of-pocket money. There's something also that you would like to see us cover on the YouTube channel, like Joey catching a big old redfish. Make sure to let us know. We'll see what we can do about that. I'm looking for bragboard photos for the August issue of Chesapeake Angler. You can send them to me at theanglerchesapeake@gmail.com. Make sure to include a byline and that you have attached the highest resolution image suitable for printing. And if you send them from your phone, make sure to send the largest file size possible. I mean, it's everybody's what they're doing. You take a picture of the fish on the phone and then you send it, and then the phone goes, "Oh, do you want to make this quicker?" And it, reduces it to a crazy thumbnail, which still looks good on your phone.
It does, but
I can't print it, and that's what's happening a lot.
I take all my little photos on my little Canon.
Do you really?
Everything you see, like I post, is on that little G9 Mark II, G9X, whatever.
Those are nice little cameras.
But it's like 23 megapixels. Because if I want to do anything with it, in case some company like Bending Branches or Native wants to use one of my photos, I'm like,
or Bonafide.
Bonafide, I'm your guy, use magazine cover.
So when you took that picture, you sent me some great pictures of me and my kayak.
Yeah, I actually need to go out and take pictures of you too.
Where did was that taken on the Canon?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I thought that was on your phone.
Because in case I screw it up, even if I blow it, like the quality is.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into camera talk, but
no.
I actually want to go out and just take photos one day while you're fishing.
But I think people that are fishing want to know that kind of stuff. They want to know like what's the best cameras to kind of use.
Yeah, I mean, I like it because it's smaller than my phone.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to zoom, like the clarity on the thing's amazing, and it does great video. So there's only so much your phone can do.
Do you get good depth of field with that too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's got full so it is a fixed lens. It's not like a lens I can take on and off.
It's a digital zoom.
Yeah, which I got it for cycling, honestly, because it fits in my jersey pocket.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the kayak, less is more on that thing, and it's small. It doesn't take up space. You can get great quality. Like I've gotten some really cool photos of some bluegills up in McIntosh. I posted a couple like further ones away, but I got some great up close. I get super detailed. I like the colors of the fish. The video is great if you want to switch to that, but you can go full manual mode because I'm a big photographer.
What's a camera run?
I want to say it was about $600 when I bought it. Now you can probably buy it for $300 or $400.
So that's a Canon G9.
Yeah, G9X Mark II, and there's a G7X. But really, it's like the size of a little bit bigger than like a business card, as far as like width and height. But it's thicker.
Yeah, obviously.
But it goes in my life jacket if I want it. It just goes everywhere. No, it's not like my phones are actually like phones are pretty much waterproof now, or water resistant for everyone. Remember, we used to buy like waterproof phones because we fished and we were on the water. But now these things are basically like splash resistant.
Yeah.
But the camera isn't. That's the only downside.
Do you tether it at all when you're on the kayak? No.
Unfortunately, no.
Just roll the dice.
So
I shouldn't have said
my
that.
really nice dry bag I lost on the Delaware River trout fishing this year.
Uh-huh.
Like instantly just got sucked under. So I need to buy a new bag with a tether. But if you want some quality stuff.
What are you willing to do to get the shot? I mean, that's if you're any kind of video maker or photographer or anything.
Yeah.
There's that. What are you willing to do? And
because unfortunately, we're almost in an era where I can't say, "Oh, I got a 5-pounder," or I got this huge snakehead. Like people instantly want to see the picture of it.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
you want to get a good picture.
Yeah.
And worst case, that falls in or gets wet, you're not out of phone.
Or video. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I'd say the video on that's amazing.
Yeah.
Your phone actually shoots like 4K now or something, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm running my cameras, my GoPros. I've been running them at 1080, but I've just switched it to 2.7.
Well, see, my only
little extra resolution.
I thought 4K was cool for a while on my GoPro and stuff, but I think you really have to have like a 4K device to watch the 4K.
Well, the nice thing, so here's the reason that I would go to 4K or 2.7 on my GoPros is the still that you can capture.
Exactly.
So I run all of my video because it just takes too long to encode. When I'm doing videos for YouTube, everything's getting shot out at 1080p 60 frames.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I don't. From a YouTube perspective, I need to be able to be quicker in the workflow.
Yeah.
Than I need to be like that crystal clear, high resolution 4K that like a few people can benefit from. But if I want to grab a still off of the frame, that 2.7 or the 4K gives me, like you just said with that Canon, it gives you that higher resolution that you can then crop down from. Because right now, if I pull a 1080 still, a 1920 1080 still off of my GoPro from the front-facing camera, I can't use that as like a YouTube cover photo because it's not big enough. So, you got it.
I hate flies.
I hate flies too.
And we did a lot of camera talk. Basically, people.
Okay.
People love fishing stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
So or pictures and Instagram, like fishing on Instagram,
Absolutely.
is huge,
and everybody wants to know how to do it.
Yeah, and the atmosphere, everyone's pretty friendly in it.
Yeah.
It's not like the cycling side sometimes where people are pretty snooty.
I think everything's got their kind of like
they have their niche
space.
categories.
Yeah.
I feel kayak fishing is very opening and welcome.
I believe
for the
you are
most part.
correct in that, and they're very helpful. It's a helpful community, unlike some of your recreational boat anglers that don't want to tell anybody where you catch fish.
Yeah.
I think kayak anglers are a little more open.
Yeah, and people understand the struggle from point A to B, from beginning to end.
Hey, I can tell you where to catch a fish.
Yeah.
The fact remains that you still got to be able to get a kayak
do it.
in there. You got to still make it happen.
Yeah.
So just because I tell you where to catch a fish, all I'm doing is giving you a little jump start. I am not burning a spot.
No.
And I am not. I mean, could it get more
Public
crowded?
waters.
Yeah. Could it get more
Maybe.
crowded? But blame
Except for
DNR because they list all these places that we
Yeah.
talk about on their website too. So
Like the one thing I wish, I was talking about another podcast is the snakehead the other day that, I mean, as soon as that thing had enough water to swim in my net, it literally, the net's 24 inches deep.
that's a massive
That thing
net.
leaped out of it like a freaking ballerina. Like, I wish I had a camera running for that because it was kind of cool, but
Yeah.
that's like a 20-second like Instagram clip.
So I do those too. Like if I go fishing, like although we fished so long at Mallows Bay the other day that my cameras filled up and stopped running before I was able to catch the one fish. But if I go on a trip and I catch that one fish, then I just release that one fish as like a 2-minute video, 3-minute video. It's those trips like I'm working on right now. I'm working on a trip that we talked about last week where I had the 20-inch fish and the 18 3/4-inch fish and where we had the little thunderstorm and everything kind of turned on with those different baits. I'm working on that video now, and that'll end up to be 8 or 9, 10 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, because personally, obviously I can watch people catch, like it does kind of get boring if the whole thing is just catching fish. I like the story from like start to finish.
So yeah, I'm trying to format the videos so that they do tell the story of the day.
Oh no, you're pretty good at that.
And then, so this one, I actually spend a lot of time talking about how I started the day with sort of my go-to at this location, which was the worm.
Yeah.
And then
You tell the story and how you did it.
And I switched up to the spinnerbait and why I did that, why I made that move. And, because sometimes, and this is what I found out, was that day I was catching plenty of fish. They were smaller fish.
Yeah.
They were still quality fish, but they weren't really scoring for me on those worms. And I watched those pickerel swirling in that grass in that shallow water.
Yeah.
And that was when I immediately flipped up to the spinnerbait and as a searcher bait and got on them. So, So, folks, if you're looking to catch up with us, Facebook.com/Angler Magazine Chesapeake, Instagram @Chesapeake Angler, youtube.com/Chesapeake Angler, and of course you can read the e-magazine online at ChesapeakeAnglerMag.com. If you want to catch up with me on Instagram, I can be found at BNRains, RAINES. Joey?
Mine?
Yes.
Yeah,
Ken?
mine's at Joey Sikorsky. That's JoeySikorski 24.
Or how could they find the paddle shop?
Oh,
That's probably
I'll say
the better one.
follow the paddle one. At Pack Paddle. Oh
It's
boy,
PAC.
PAC.
For Patuxent Adventure Center. Paddle.
Well-
Is it Paddle Sports?
That's what I'm checking. It's at packpaddlesports.com.
There we go. PAC. And I'll put links in the show notes. So thanks, everybody, for listening. I hope you all get out there and catch some fish. Hope you all have a great time with that. And we'll see you next time. Until then, tight lines.
Adios.
Love you. Bye.
Sorry, I was going through my paddle page. Love you. Bye.